The Vice President, the Bermuda Triangle, and Stan Lee are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is December 28th, 2021. It is the 362nd day of the year. We got 3 days left in 2021. It is the 52nd Tuesday in the 53rd week and the 8th day of winter. We got 82 days left until spring. And if today's your birthday, your birthstone is a blue topaz. Today is National Short Film Day. On December 28th, National Short Film Day commemorates the day the motion picture industry was born, when the Lumiere brothers projected a program of short films to a public audience for the very first time. In 1895, at the Grand Café in Paris, two brothers sparked the world's interest in film by showing 33 customers 10 50-second short films. Basically, they did shorts like YouTube, bringing it all the way back around. Started off doing 50-second movies, and here we are again, making things under 1 minute for YouTube shorts. I always found this strange. Lumiere means light, and you have to project light through a film to have a movie. I thought that was always quite the coincidence. Now, they weren't the first ones to do it. Thomas Edison had his kinetoscope in New Jersey, and the Lumiere brothers saw the kinetoscope and said, you know what, we could do better. And they did a couple years later. All right, let's see what else December 28th has given us. 1832, John C. Calhoun becomes the first vice president of the United States to resign. He resigns after being elected senator from South Carolina. 1895, Wilhelm Röntgen publishes a paper detailing his discovery of the new type of radiation, which later will be known as X-rays. When this first came out, there was a lot of paranoia. They honestly were afraid that people would get like goggles or binocular type things, or even opera glasses, and be able to use the X-ray technology in those things. And their biggest worry was that people were going to look at women underneath their clothing without them knowing. Yes, that was a worry. So they had paranoia about the X-ray. I mean, this life-changing thing, X-rays for medicine, and they were worried that dudes were going to get them and just check out chicks at the opera. Strange world we live in. Anyway, yeah, so 1895, 136 years old. 1912, the first municipality-owned streetcars take to the streets in San Francisco. That's one of those things that you got to do if you're a tourist in San Francisco. You just got to ride the streetcar. Get a selfie. It's worth the trip. It's kind of entertaining. 1948, the DC-3 airliner NC-16002 disappears 80 kilometers, or about 50 miles, south of Miami. So the airplane was piloted by pilot Robert Lindquist and assisted by Ernest Hill. They had a stewardess on there named Mary Burke. Anyway, this route would fly back and forth from San Juan, Puerto Rico to Miami. They had told some maintenance guys that they were having a little problem with the radio. It wasn't keeping a charge and it needed to be serviced. And one of the lights for the landing gear wasn't coming on. But that wasn't a problem because the landing gear came down. They said the radio would be fine. They didn't want to wait several hours while they repaired it. They just figured it would charge in the air on the way to Miami. So the CAA, or Civil Aeronautics Administration, officials said, okay, we'll just circle the city while your battery charges and then you could take off from there. And they finally lifted off around 10:03 that night. They circled the city for about 11 minutes and Lindquist received confirmation from the CAA at San Juan and told the tower that they were proceeding to Miami on the previous flight plan. But that's the last time San Juan had heard from him. At 11:23 p.m., they tried to contact the plane and got nothing. The Miami control tower did hear a routine transmission from the plane where Lindquist reported that they were at 8,000 feet and they were estimated to arrive in Miami at 4 a.m. This transmission placed them about 700 miles from Miami. Now, keep in mind, San Juan to Miami these days is about a 2-hour flight. Back then, planes weren't as fast. They weren't jets. This was, like 5 hours of flying. At 4:13 a.m., Lindquist reported that they were 50 miles away from Miami. Now, they were overdue and still 50 miles away. Miami didn't get that transmission, but a control tower in New Orleans did pick up the transmission and relayed it to Miami. Nothing further was heard from Lindquist or the aircraft ever again. On January 4th, about 7 days later, 2 bodies were found about 50 miles south of Guantanamo Bay. It's unknown if they are connected to the missing plane, but they never heard from the plane again. They obviously did some investigations and they had a couple theories, but one of them was that they didn't know where they were and they had transmitted wrong. Figure they were someplace between Miami and Cuba when they should have been out more at the Atlantic Ocean coming into Miami from the east. Over the years, different researchers that have gone looking for planes and stuff like that have just lumped this in with all the other missing planes and stuff from the Bermuda Triangle. 1958, the greatest game ever played. The Baltimore Colts defeat the New York Giants in the first ever National Football League sudden death overtime game in New York's Yankee Stadium. 1967, American businesswoman Muriel Siebert becomes the first woman to own a seat on the New York Stock Exchange. Wow, 1967, took them that long? 1973, the United States Endangered Species Act is signed into law by President Richard Nixon. You know what I've always found weird about Nixon? He's often referred to as like the worst president we ever had, or one of the worst, whatever. Don't want to get into the politics of it, but his name always pops up with that. But every once in a while I'm reading these things, and he's done some good things like this, the Endangered Species Act. This is huge. 1989, a magnitude 5.6 earthquake hits Newcastle in New South Wales, Australia, killing 13 people. 5.6 killing 13 people? California gets 6.7s and, they get some broken windows. They're so set up for earthquakes. I mean, yeah, back in the 90s, we had that really bad one, but most of the time, there's rumblers every single week, it seems like, in Southern California. And, you might have a couple broken windows. No big deal. Movies released on December 28th, 2001, I Am Sam. This was a really good movie. It starred Sean Penn, Dakota Fanning, and Elle Fanning, Michelle Pfeiffer, Loretta Devine, Lauren Dern, Diane Wiest, Maren Hinkle. This was a good movie. Basically, Sean Penn played a man who is mentally disabled, and he happens to get the local, what's the word I'm looking for? Floozy. She does the nasty with him, and she happens to get pregnant, and they have the baby. After they have the baby, he's a mentally challenged man. She just hands him the baby and runs away and goes, I can't live like this. And this is right out in front of the hospital. He's got the brain of like a 6-year-old, and he doesn't know what to do. But he does what he can, and it is a great movie. Great movie. Elle Fanning, which is the younger sister Dakota Fanning, she plays the 2-year-old Lucy, and she's actually 4 years younger than Dakota Fanning. And as the movie progressed, Dakota Fanning started playing the daughter. It was a really interesting movie. One thing that always stuck out with me was he read her this little kid's book, like for a 4-year-old, every night before they went to bed, because that's about all he could read. And then finally, when she was older, like 9, she was like, Dad, let me read you a book, type thing. And he's all, oh, okay. It was a cute movie. It's kind of scary. For this guy, you're watching the movie through his eyes and you're all, this is horrifying if you don't know what to do. But a lot of people helped him out in the movie. You ever get a chance, watch it. And it's a drama, so don't expect any action or any too much humor. It's mostly dramatic. Born on December 28th, 1922, the great Stan Lee. He was a comic book writer, publisher, editor, and chairman who co-created Spider-Man, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, X-Men, and the Fantastic Four. He was great. He was in all the Marvel movies up until his passing. Well, most of them. I think Venom's like one of the only ones he wasn't in. But he always played a little bit part, It was great. He worked several part-times as a youth, some of which included writing obituaries for newspapers and writing press releases for the National Tuberculosis Center. His uncle, Robbie Solomon, helped him get a job at Timely Comics as an assistant in 1939, which would eventually become Marvel Comics in 1960. Died on December 28, 2016, Debbie Reynolds. She was an actress and singer best known for starring as Kathy Selden in the 1952 classic Singin' in the Rain. Her other major films included It Started With a Kiss, The Mating Game, Kiki Delivery Service, not Kinky, Kiki's Delivery Service. I remember her for being the mom of Carrie Fisher, and she was in the Halloween Town movies, the Disney ones. They're pretty good. Watch those with my kids when they were young. And yes, she died one day after her daughter, Carrie Fisher, died. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a very productive day. Enjoy the rest of the year. Be nice to each other.